I find a lot of these jobs though, they're like, we include everybody. It's like, yeah, but everybody shouldn't be included. Well, no one, people that don't game, well, they obviously shouldn't be included. People who are a minor part of your audience shouldn't, because they're a minor part of your audience, and you will. All of this is zero sum. So if you include a minor part, you're going to exclude the majority, which is bad business.
Activision has a website that really goes in on DEI, and they're not just jumping in, like they're not dipping their toe in. No. They have ripped off their clothes. They are buck naked, and they have jumped into the deep end off the high dive. Right? These guys are all in on this. So their website looks like this. Here it is right here, and I'm guessing that this is their crew, their DEI cast of characters that runs here. Anyways,
I'm not represented in that group at all.
Right? Do you not? You don't feel very represented at all, do you?
This is absolute bigotry.
It's crazy. Well, they have as you scroll down, they give you a full rundown of all the things that they have. Speaking of rundown, they have an entire presentation called The Rundown, and we're going to dig into that a little bit as well. But it has all the things, choosing to do what matters because it matters. Our DEI strategy is woven into the fabric of our business. It identifies opportunities for growth within our business by using our business drivers as a lens to focus our efforts on initiatives that can be the most impactful in our people, company, and community. This is how we advance on our DE and I journey as an organization.
Do you notice how there's no reason of why they should do it? They've just gone, because they really don't admit it's self-interest. Like, I will ensure that I have a job at this company. I will get promoted. I will get more money than I ever could have earned in any other career possible, and I don't have to deserve anything. I just get it. It's literally everything self-interest.
Well, this is, I mean, you're 100% right. 100% right on this. The idea of the of this is really amazing, and there's a really good rundown of some of the things that Grums has put together. He's gone through this entire rundown 2.0. This is the doc here, but here's an entire rundown.
Condition.
Yes,
in that picture, that started popping up in every game. I never even knew that was a thing until like Michael Jackson announced that he had it, and then suddenly it's in every game possible. It's anything with Sweet Baby and everything. You've got to have this.
The condition. Well, here's a rundown of some of the things. Sorry, using the word rundown on this is tough because that's what they called it. But here's a TLDR bullet point of it. So, as I said, this is that they have a 3-year roadmap from now until 2026. Right. Some of these are really like crazy. Okay. All AI voice chat moderation to enforce DEI compliance with players, right? The idea that you will comply. You will comply. Embed exposure to DEI programming from day one for all new employees, building safe spaces inside the company for every group under the sun, which is true. If you scroll down actually on the list itself, it has a full rundown of that's rundown term.
It's the one for me.
What's that?
Do I have a safe space?
Well, let's find out really quick. Let's see if you do have a safe space.
That's why I'm interested in all of this stuff. It's like, well, what do I get out of it? It's like everyone else gets something. I want to, like, if you just want a room for you to sit in, that's fine. Do I get one? I love how there is at the end.
Yeah. Thank you for complying. Thank you for running for making sure this is all accurate. Where was it? There was an entire had all the different groups that were available with this, and it was like, okay, yeah. But to go back to your question, were you included? The answer is no. Just a quick spoiler for you, but no, you were not included. But
they're actively against disabilities.
As we continue down, it says, uses DEI goals for setting to foster accountability, host an internal live video series called Press Pause that trains employees on diversity storytelling and culture of support. quotes, let's see, backs and attends numerous DEI panels, tracks an inclusion score for every employee. Every employee has an inclusion score. They use taco vendors and coffee carts. That is a diversifying supplier chain right there, which is amazing. Just by going and having a taco truck show up.
Now, that
And this
inclusion score, you don't
Mhm.
track something like that unless you're going to use it. So that will be used for promotion, bonuses, wages, all that kind of stuff. And there will be, if you have a low score, you won't get anything. And so they just hope you'll leave the company.
Yes, and that's the scary thing about it. And I have several friends who work for this company, and this is a very large company. We're talking about Activision Blizzard here. We're talking tens of thousands of people, and the trickle down effect associated with this. And here's the other one: inclusive game design, introducing more characters like Catbat, the first non-binary character voiced by a gender fluid actor who, quote, uses all pronouns in Crash Team Rumble. So there you go. Did you know that you needed to have pronouns to be in a racing game about a bandicoot?
I mean, are they actually a real bandicoot, though?
Are they really? Are they really?
Mm.
This all just seems like such gobbledygook. When you look at some of the slides here, it really is amazing to see how much they've gone into this and how far they're leaning into this and how the negative effects associated with, like, you're talking about the games. Like, this is not based off merit. This is based off of, well, we're going to hire you because of this, because of your skin color, because you're gay, because you're whatever. At what point, like, someone at some point has to, like, sue, right? Somebody does. There has to be some change, because there's no way this is legal. No way.
Well, I mean, you can now. Well, now that's come out to the thing, every single person that they fire or don't hire has grounds to go, I think I was discriminated against. Because you have an inclusion score. That's literally what that's meant to be for. There's no reason to come up with that score unless you're going to use it to do some kind of outcome. Nobody tracks data unless they're intending to use the data for a purpose. And so, like, it depends what the score includes, but, it probably includes all the different check boxes that you've got, plus what activities you're going to do, which coincidentally, I'm sure they get all of them, and they'd have really high scores. And if you have high scores, well, you're probably better for the company, so you probably should be promoted. Everything comes down to preserving my job path.
And speaking of job paths, I thought that it was important as I scrolled down the website. I was looking at some of their key leaders here, some of the key leaders that are associated with this movement at Activision. And here's a list of our people. The director of inclusive game design. Like, what a made up title that is. The inclusive game design. What does that even mean? We don't know. But here's Adrian Letta. And I mean, I'm good to show their LinkedIn, right? Because it's public.
It's public
right?
information.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
same as Twitter.
This is
anything you post on it.
What's that?
Same as Twitter. Like, anything you post public on the internet.
Yeah, right.
Private.
Well, here is their Twitter, Adrian Letta, and they are the head of inclusive game design at Activision Blizzard. And they actually have their resume here. And I want to triple check one more time because I want to make sure it doesn't have any crazy personal information. But once again, this is publicly available, so I'll take it for what it is. But when you look at their resume, and I have it pulled up on screen, the number one thing listed here is, and I'll pull it up here. The number one thing here is first is pronouns, but as you scroll down, is the accessible and DEI experience. That is it. Accessibility and DEI experience right here. Talks about his professional history, blah, blah, blah. Look at the amount of space it's the entire first page. Like, this
well,
is
you know why
what
they do this, right? Because modern hiring procedures have changed. There's now so many people applying for everything. Everything went digital. That it's no longer a guy at a desk looking at your resume. They just put them through an AI system or like a computer system. It literally scans for keywords that you put into it, and then it spits out a list. And so for this job, you would have to. You are better off with like paragraphs of keywords that they will specifically scan for, and that has the advantage of filtering out all the people that aren't part of the cult because they don't use that language. So if you hit all of those things, that's why I've raised the idea before that if you ever want to clean these companies, all you have to do is sit in meetings with a clipboard, and whenever they hit a keyword, just fire them. Like that's literally how you get rid of it. It's a language deliberately to signal to the tribe that I'm on your side. I'm part of the in-group, and so that would be the way that you could get back on target.
Well, this person has, from a game developer perspective, has worked on the Call of Duty series, the Crash Bandicoot series, the Spyro series, and Skylanders and Guitar Hero. So these are major franchises within Activision here. And for Call of Duty, it says collaborated, advised, and supported different studios with advocating design and shipping accessibility features in their games. So really, that's what they did. Is there a colorblind setting for Disparu? Can there...
Which are always crap, by the way. I don't use them because they're that awful. You need to get someone who's actually colorblind to design that thing.
Well, this guy, he included colorblind options, including mono audio and camera movement options.
If he's not colorblind himself, he doesn't represent me.
Dude, that's actually a really good question. Really good question. Like, are the people working on your colorblind settings, are they actually colorblind? Do they actually know?
I've never had settings that were better than the originals for me. And I'm the kind of person that when Overwatch changed the ability to change the outline, that was like a godsend because now I could finally see things. Because I think they had a red one and I'm red-green colorblind, so I changed it to yellow and now I can actually see the enemies. There are times in a first-person shooters, especially with the movement and stuff, the guy will just vanish. Like I just can't see him anymore on the screen. It takes me a while to pick up the movement again. So it is a genuine issue more than anything else. But I find a lot of these jobs, though, they're like, we include everybody. It's like, yeah, but everybody shouldn't be included. But people that don't game, well, they obviously shouldn't be included. People who are a minor part of your audience shouldn't, because they're a minor part of your audience, and you will... all of this is zero sum, so if you include a minor part, you're going to exclude the majority, which is bad business. And so all of these ideas are like objectively awful from a business standpoint. They will make you go bankrupt. They will make you hire the wrong people. They will make you hire less quality people than you would have done if you hadn't cared about any of this stuff and you'd just gone, who's the best person? Then you'd end up with a higher quality team overall. And I think it shows in the game design. Like, does anyone really care about Activision stuff now anymore? Like, COD is the same game every year. Blizzard don't do any work. They thought that 3 heroes for Overwatch a year was enough content for everybody. And whenever there's a scandal, they just double down on this. So they use it as a shield while sinking their company even further. You can survive a scandal a hell of a lot better than you can survive hiring the wrong people for the job. Like, they're incapable of doing anything good. And all they do with this is double down. Will any of those people care? No, because they'll walk into another job. Well, they've sank your company, and they've done the absolutely amazing thing of selling it to Microsoft.
Circling back to this person that we're talking about, like the head of game diversity, right? Like, what is it? Like these titles are so debunked. And I asked Blabs, like, hey, Blabs, will you do a little digging on this guy's resume to see like what qualified him for this position? And Blabs, what did you find?
There's really not a whole lot in his actual like gaming resume. So like for the most part, all he was doing was in the DEI purpose was colorblind accessibility and talking to people in FAQs and hearing what they want to do, things like that. He was actually doing more gaming stuff, like he was designing and shaping enemies, boss fights, things like that, like actual parts of the game, not DEI related. So that's why I kept saying, that's what I was reading. It depends on what the boss looks like, right? All these boss fights, but he doesn't specify, so I can't say
that's
anything.
What his job is, though. That's it. When they say consulting, they'll be like, well, this villain will be this guy in GTA and he steals cars. You can't do that. That's a stereotype. Like, that will be his job, to tell you what you can't do and basically ruin your stories.
Yeah, but he was basically just straight up saying, like, general. Like, his position was just general. There's no really consulting. So I don't know. But based off of everything I read, his most thing was for colorblind. That was the most DEI. So
well, that's probably the only mechanical thing The rest will be,
Story.
I'm just going to all call you a racist. Is basically the thing. It is one of those things. If you hire somebody like that for the job, if he goes, "Oh no, your company's great, absolutely no problem at all. Like you're all great, stand-up blokes. I know you don't mean anything by this. It's fine." He gets fired. He has to insult you. He has to humiliate you. That is literally his job, to make everybody else in the company feel like crap and constantly put them down. It's like, no, you've made a mistake doing this. You've done this wrong. You've done this wrong. If you make him find a problem, he will go out and look for one. And this is how he came up with microaggressions, because there were no real problems. So they had to invent an entire new layer of problems to find. This is how we ended up with, if you do an Irish accent, then suddenly it's problematic. That only came around because a load of people needed to find a problem with it so they could have a go at other people and make themselves feel better. It's just now, we've paid people $150K a year to do it in a corporation. It's wild.
You know, Morzak says, it's been 10 years. None of this is ending. You know, Grums is like, it takes 2 years of boycotting these companies for this to really take effect. It's going to take 2 years of boycotting more or less AAA. And I was always like, you know, like it's really hard to, I mean, it's not hard to boycott games. You just don't spend your money, right? But at the same time, like I think what that will happen is if you don't do anything for 2 years, you're out of practice. You lose. You'll find something else to fill that time, and that's okay. You know,
Well, there's
that's
plenty of
fine.
other games. You don't need Activision.
Right, but this is so deep. You know, between Activision, between Ubisoft, you know, between EA, all these companies are doing it. Every single one of them, and you know, so whether it's a return to the retro games, whether it's a return to indie titles, you're right. There are other things to do, but it's disheartening. You know, it's disheartening to see that we live in a society that is built around that's not built around merit, and the idea that the best person for the job doesn't get the job, and that's, you know, ultimately that will cause games to erode, you know, and you're going to see games that aren't as good, and that's the reality of the situation. That's like, sorry, that is just the reality. Hire the best person. I don't care if they're gay, straight, black, white. It doesn't matter to me. Just hire the best person. But that is a lost thing. And by the way, it's just the chef's kiss on all this stuff is that the president who is championing this, Rob Kostick, is the president of Activision, is the whitest guy on earth.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of a more white generic guy than this guy. Like, what are we doing?
But also, well, now no one can have a go at him, right? Because he's literally made himself immune to it by having this thing. That's what it was there for. All the journalists and everything would come out and they'd start accusing these people. I'm like, no, we can't. Oh, well, you know, what? How can you prove it to us? Well, we've been doing this, and this. It's all there. It's just to cover their backs. Their issue was they started giving them actual power because this stuff grows. And it's why I don't think that 2 years will fix this, because it's so ingrained in the company now. There's so many rules behind it. The HR department is full of it. You literally have to you have to do what Elon did on Twitter. Get rid of nearly every single person in there, apart from the people who've basically been oppressed all this time, because they're those are the best people in the company, because to survive throughout all of this, they basically had to make their jobs bulletproof. Like, you need me, otherwise they would have been replaced by this point. So they're probably the most talented people in there. And I've reached a point now where I do think you can learn some lessons from it, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to play neutral games anymore. You have to be actively anti this, and so if anyone even suggests it be fired, like, immediately, no, we don't stand for that. We're not going to have that racism in this company. Bye. And so it's sort of no holds barred. The moment you even hear a suggestion of this, if you let it go, it spreads. Like, we know this now. They hire the people who agree with them. This is what all of these people, because they think everybody else is evil. And so they're not going to hire them. And so you have to have sort of zero tolerance with it. Otherwise, it always gets worse. And I do think you probably don't need to boycott it, simply because these games are going to be crap anyway. You're not going to want to buy them. And I think the industry naturally collapses on its own. We've seen it with entertainment. I now watch Korean stuff and anime because they have the culture and the morals that I like. I don't care if the Japanese or Korean or whatever. I just want good entertainment, and they have the culture which I like. So I like what their culture produces. It makes sense. And I think that's going to happen in gaming as well. I've been through this before, actually, when multi-platform came out. With everything used to be like PC or console, and then it merged.
Mhm.
And I don't like console games. I prefer the deeper PC games, and a lot of them went more shallow and became more consoleized. So I just started playing things like RimWorld and other indie titles, and I think they will, well, as we've seen actually with Pal World, and Elden Ring. No, it's not indie, but it's not a Western game, and I think they'll see like a resurgence